Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Security Token Show. It's another Monday. We're your hosts. I'm Herwig Konings, joined as always by my business partner, Kyle Sonlin. What another great week of news we have for you. The latest offering, the latest and greatest in industry updates. But first, big news. We are 10 weeks out, folks. 10 weeks out from Tokenize This, happening in May 9th through 11th in Miami. Always repping my, STM swag these days, Kyle. We got some great merch samples that came in the other week. I am so fired up. People are buying their tickets left and right. We're getting great sponsors and great speakers. We got an agenda announcement coming soon. So what are you waiting for? Go to summit.stm.co and grab your ticket.
This is in person in Miami, talking real world assets. This is going to be a big opportunity to meet with some of the biggest and brightest names and minds in the industry, all coming together for Tokenize This.
It's going to be awesome. But for now, we're going to keep giving you the news. So with that, Kyle, let's start off the show with the Token Debrief. And featuring our guest contributor, as always, for the Token Debrief, we've got Jason Barraza. How are you today?
Doing great. 10 weeks out, guys. Really excited for Tokenize This, as you guys alluded to. So everyone get your tickets. But another great week of news to jump into. So let's get started, guys.
Happy to kick it off with some big news from Ripple, partnering with the Acceler Foundation to enhance RWA tokenization capabilities by providing the developers with new integration capabilities, essentially meaning that through this collaboration, what Acceler has is they have the General Messaging Passing Protocol, the GMP, which is tied into over 55 different blockchains, which means essentially you can now leverage XRPL, their tokens, and make efficient transfer of these assets, the tokenized RWAs, across these different 55 chains, which I think is a pretty big deal. Not only is that great, of course, to tap into these other chains for cross communication, but it also means the ability to power new dApps and other solutions tying in these XRPL-based tokens, which means more good news for RWAs across the board.
Ripple still making moves, still driving industry adoption. Shout out to them and their team, as well as Acceler for getting involved. And into the next one, guys, I have an article from Integral Treasury. They have secured investment from Franklin Templeton to continue developing tokenization accounting infrastructure, which many people feel is that foundational use case of tokenization with respect to securities, is managing a lot of the back office processes that a lot of these institutions have to go through. The goal here is to allow financial professionals to manage digital assets and automate the accounting process, as well as their reporting workflows, which a lot of these companies have compliance standards and they have reporting obligations. They are trying to target traditional institutions as well as Web3 businesses to try to connect all of those dots. And as we've seen before, both the CEO of Integral as well as Franklin Templeton and their digital assets team sees this tokenization as the next wave of crypto innovation. Integral has already accounted for $200 billion in crypto transactions, and they partner with many different companies, including they've raised money from Coinbase, Electric Capital, and a few other individual investors in the space. So major shout out to Integral for raising capital.
That's really, really cool stuff to see, guys. I mean, these are some of the services that other people just haven't thought about, or don't really, it's not the first thing that comes to mind when you're thinking Web3, but they're very much needed. We've seen other companies such as Legible do this more on the tax side of things. So really cool to see this from an accounting perspective. So good job, Integral. Can't wait to see everything that you will do there. And moving on, we also have news from Ondo Finance. They are launching Ondo Global Markets, Ondo GM, which is a platform that will include a broker-dealer with accounts at traditional trading, clearing, and settlement venues that will, in addition to accepting client orders via API and web app, will also accept orders via smart contract, call, and or token transfer. So what does this all mean, guys? So traditionally, if you wanted to tokenize, let's say Tesla, for example, and this is the example that they give in the press release, you would be creating an SPV or a fund that invests in Tesla. You'd be tokenizing that. The problem with that is that you'd be trying to create create liquidity for the tokenized version. What Ondo GM is doing here, guys, is they're leveraging broker dealers to be able to essentially integrate with traditional securities infrastructure to be able to trade that Tesla and tap into the liquidity that already exists on public markets. So really, really cool stuff that they're doing here. They have a whole suite of use cases that they talked about. One of them, which is I think really cool to dive into here, is the prime brokerage use case. Essentially, it's usually unavailable to retail. You can only get margin leverage from the brokerage that holds those specific securities. Whereas institutions can get, borrow on margin for assets held across a variety of brokers, a variety of custodians, and Ondo GM will be able to bring that over to retail use as well. So, it's a little unclear from the press release as to who they're partnered with for the broker-dealer or if it's themselves. But based on a little digging from FINRA's broker check, I think more than likely they are partnering with someone else rather than having their own. But any thoughts on this, guys?
This is huge news. This is pretty exciting. I think that this makes total sense and could be a game changer for connecting traditional finance to this tokenization ecosystem. I think that the biggest thing that I like that they're trying to solve is instead of trying to rebuild liquidity in a new market, they're just trying to potentially connect the existing liquidity into this space, which makes total sense.
Yeah, that's a major, major announcement. Didn't exactly see this one coming. They definitely laid a lot of the foundation with some of their products they've already put out there. But this is a whole new paradigm shift, as they said in their press release. I absolutely wholeheartedly agree. Well, I think we've long been searching for ways to tap into traditional liquidity, given the fact that, it's so healthy. It's a big reason why there isn't a huge push for public shares to go onto tokenized platforms in the first place. We do know there's been demand in many other use cases in a similar fashion, because people across the globe want access to Tesla shares, as an example, in an easy to access manner, like a tokenized format. But this, if they're really tapping into the liquidity of traditional clearinghouses and brokers, wow, that's going to be a very powerful tool for these Ondo products on their rails to be able to be used. So very big news indeed. Another big announcement from Securitize Credit, which is, of course, part of Securitize, a subsidiary. They've announced their Earn product, where you can essentially take your stable coins or your Bitcoin and deposit them into yield-bearing instruments. They say they're able to offer these rewards by, quote, investing in and making over-collateralized loans secured against high-quality private assets, including digital asset securities issued and managed by Wall Street's largest and most successful asset managers. So really great play, of course. I'm sure they've gone through all the regulation to create a sort of safer structure to take your specifically stable coins in Bitcoin, and then go ahead and get yield from a more, less or maybe less volatile manner that we traditionally see when it comes to getting yield for cryptos in the space, typically relying on sort of DeFi solutions or some kind of centralized solutions. We saw what happened with BlockFi and many others. So this is a very interesting product to come to market. It headed up by Reed Simon from Securitize Credit. But it looks to be that once again, they are, continuing to put out what I would probably presume are institutional facing, products to take advantage of for their clientele.
We're seeing more and more infrastructure facilitating these financial markets, which is exciting to see. And a lot of the existing crypto infrastructure, we're now porting over to tokenized securities and real world assets. And this just continues to bring those bridge of asset classes and institutional divides together. So major shout out to Securitize Credit on that front. My next article here is about the Russian rating agency, ACRA. And they have observed that banks are potential lenders in tokenized real-world assets, known locally there in their digital financial assets sector, so the DFA. And supposedly, according to Ledger Insights, Russia has seen a growth in DFA issuances, with an estimated 350 different assets totaling $650 million or 60 billion rubles. The ACRA notes that the growth of these digital financial assets is a significant development despite the limitations on their asset classes and investor participation. Of course, this being a sanctioned country right now economically. the expectation is that this is going to be a new opportunity for their small to medium enterprises to take advantage of new capital markets infrastructure. They see that larger companies are less likely to get involved just due to the limited secondary market. This is something that we've kind of seen across the board. That shouldn't be incredibly shocking. And they also note that the central bank has been cautious to approach this type of market. So for now, it's probably going to be more risk tolerant companies, smaller businesses getting involved. But interesting to see that a new report coming out from Russia that they're recognizing this is another tool in the tool belt.
You better believe it is. We've talked a lot about how this is a great opportunity for smaller island nations and more developing financial ecosystems to take advantage of a whole new infrastructure, a digital infrastructure. And as you pointed out, Kyle, Russia's facing a lot of sanctions right now. Makes it a lot more difficult to tap into this growing movement of tokenization in itself, which means they got to build their own rails. And as you can see, they obviously are being very strict over there and controlling on that. But it's great to see that there's activity, that it is actually being used. And as we've predicted in the past, we're going to see a healthy Russian ecosystem of tokenized assets come about. Maybe one day they will be able to plug in if those sanctions get lifted and things like that. But it is very interesting to see. I believe we've even reported in the past Iran and other types of countries also kind of exploring similar models. So, the technology itself, that's the validation. It can't be stopped. It's too useful, even if it's not designed to necessarily connect into everybody else's.
Totally agree.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, at least they're working on it. They're getting familiar with the tech. And then, like you said, if at some point sanctions get lifted, then at least they'll be somewhat more ready to be able to participate with the rest of the ecosystem. But in other news, we do have a new platform joining the ecosystem. We have Realty X on the Plume network, which is an L2 blockchain that we covered last week, along with Bengadi, a heavyweight in the UAE real estate sector known for its high-end property developments. This is also on Base blockchain, and their users can participate in Dubai real estate for as low as $50 through what they're calling their RST tokens. Don't confuse those with Relio. Make sure you know the difference. But the first distribution of rental earnings is already set to commence on a bi-weekly basis starting March 15th and March 31st. So, make sure you check that out if it's of interest. And the offering is anticipated to give you a rental yield of around 8%. So we covered an offering, but we also covered that they are a new platform. So to incentivize people to hop on, give it a shot, check it out. They are doing a 10 ETH raffle, total prize pool of 10 ETH across 10 rewarding rounds. Each round escalates, by to the next amount, with the climax round, the last round being that 2 ETH grand prize. The really cool thing about this, guys, is that previous winners are eligible for future rounds, so you are incentivized to join as early as possible.
Awesome stuff. Exciting to see Realty X getting involved in the space. UAE continuing to drive adoption from around the world.
I absolutely love to see that as well. More platforms coming to the market. The Plume network really showing off how large it is since we announced it. And of course, more real estate tokenizations, those rental distributions, those are going to become, I think, increasingly valuable as people seek on-chain yield. But with that is all of the token debrief we have for you all. Now I believe we've got a great interview with Gabe from Dinari with Jason. Let's head on to that.
Well, hello, guys. We're here for another interview. We're joined by Gabriel Otte from Dinari. He's their CEO. And so you guys are continuously bringing on new news onto the market, whether it's new offerings, and in this case, it's an API. So Gabriel, welcome to the show. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me, Jason.
Absolutely. So you guys, recently released this B2B API and managed account solution for global and business developers around the world here. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about, what exactly the API is enabling and what people can expect to be able to use it for?
Sure. So as you know, Dinari was started to really provide tokenized securities, REITs, bonds, whatever, from the United States to the world, and vice versa. And when we launched it, one of the things that we noticed was there were a bunch of people who wanted to offer these assets to their people in their country or their region, that reached out to us just proactively and saying, can we offer your tokenized stocks to our people through my app? And one of the things that we quickly realized was, we provided the tokens, but there wasn't an easy way for them to integrate this into their apps. And a lot of the people that were reaching out to us had never really touched smart contracts. So the API that we built, that our engineering team worked tirelessly to build, is really the most efficient way, we believe, for an app to integrate offerings like tokenized securities into their app, of any platform that we know. It's like the most seamless way to do it. It's like literally 2 or 3 API calls now, and they can offer it in their apps. And that's really our vision, our hope for our partners coming to us and wanting to integrate with us.
That is really, really exciting. Honestly, a lot of what this industry needs is really creating opportunities to integrate, to come on board without all the hassle. A popular term we hear around the industry is, Web 2 front end with a Web 3 back end, right? And so, that's essentially what you guys are enabling here. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the functionality that the API enables that people would be able to use, and maybe some of the key financial possibilities that are available through, whether it's like financial products or what kinds of platforms should be onboarding this?
Yeah. So we really made it as simple as possible in terms of the functionality. Developers can now come to us. They can ask for an API key. They will be given price feeds that are pulled from multiple TradFi markets, right? So that you really get a true price for whatever stocks or commodities or something like that you would essentially be buying. We essentially calculate the fees for you. So you even get sort of API calls back for how much you should essentially surface to your users in terms of the fees charged and things along those lines. We handle the wallet management, even if you want us to. There's a Web3 way of integrating with us, but the Web2 way allows you to sort of abstract out the wallet altogether. So it really does feel like a complete kind of a Web2 type of an interface. And so really just end to end, it is the back end without having to do any of the integrations with the actual stock exchanges and things like that. We've done that for you. You can now build a Robinhood-like app for whatever country you're in.
Really, really cool. And this resonates really well with the D shares that you guys have already been, continuously releasing. These are tokenized stocks, right? Where international investors can get access, to U.S. public company stock and make it a little bit more seamless of a process there. But you also mentioned commodities, which I think brings us to the next topic that we were going to cover today. Is you guys just recently launched 4 new assets. If you can just shine a little bit more light on those.
Yeah. So the feedback that we got from many of our users was they want exposure to stocks and ETFs, but they also wanted exposure to actual commodities. So we released 4 of them. One is steel, SLX. Wheat is another one. And then timber and forestry in general, that's wood. And then water, PHO. So it's really just these fundamental things that we kind of need to survive. People wanted to invest in those things as well as stocks. So we've now provided that to our users.
That's really, really cool to see. Do you have any insight into like the any more features that there is, like dividend payments or redeemability, whether for these D shares or other D shares that you guys have historically launched? Yeah,
so every D share is redeemable in terms of turning them back into USDC and things along those lines at US market hours at all times, right? That's never going to be taken away from users. In fact, that high level of liquidity is exactly what we want, because we don't want there to be, undue amount of risk to our users. So these are redeemable during US market hours. And if you put in the order outside of US market orders, it will literally be filled the first thing when the market opens. And then in terms of dividends and things like that, we actually believe we're still one of the only tokenization groups that pass the entire full dividend down to our users. It just gets dropped into your wallet as USDC for as long as you're holding those tokens. And so we don't make money off of sort of skimming off the top in terms of dividends or withholding dividends and things along those lines, because we really want our users to have the full access to and exposure to these assets.
Really, really cool. Appreciate that insight, Gabe. And you guys have done tokenized stocks. You're done commodities now this week. We've also seen the Bitcoin ETFs that you guys brought on chain as well. So that's really exciting again for anyone that wants some of that exposure. I think we just saw Bitcoin cross 60,000. So and it'll probably go up from here. Of course, none of this is financial advice, everyone, but keep an eye out for all those opportunities that Dinari is bringing on chain. Gabriel, thank you for joining us. Is there anything that our users or our viewers should know as they watch this interview or as they explore their options with Dinari?
What I can say is the Dinari team is really just wanting to bring these assets to the world. Like, we have family members, right, that use Dinari to get exposure to this. And so we're always listening. So to all of your listeners, I would say, tell us, what you want in terms of assets that you want exposure to next. Tell us features that you would like to see on Dinari, because we're really building this as a love letter to you.
Fantastic. Well, there you have it, everyone. Make sure you reach out to Dinari, check out their app, check out everything that they're doing, and contact Gabriel with any and all questions. So with that, we'll be moving on to the market movements.
Now it's time to hear what's happening in the market itself, what new offerings are out there, what's happening with the tokens that are trading, any latest updates. And we've got a cool one to start off with. Hamilton Lane is at it again, this time getting access to their global private assets fund out of Luxembourg, which, by the way, has $3.8 billion in it. So it is a very strong fund. In fact, they say that it's since 2019 is at 14.6% annual return as a performance growth, they specifically say. So that's definitely pretty impressive. But they've actually, I think more interestingly here, have partnered up with Signum and Apex Group in order to enable the access to this fund. Of course, in a DLT registered manner using the Polygon blockchain. So once again, Polygon being a choice here in a more institutional manner. Of course, Hamilton Lane being a large multi-billion dollar, 90 plus billion, I believe, asset manager. So very, very cool stuff.
Really, really dope. We've seen them in the past. We've seen, I think this might be the second time that the Global Private Assets Fund is coming on chain. With the first time, I think, coming through Securitize. So great to see this, happening. More institutions being involved in Signum and Apex. Good for you guys to get, working with Hamilton Lane on this.
Totally agree. The next piece of market movements I have is a company called Reserve, which is a hotel ownership platform. And they launched a collaboration with our favorite tokenized hotel, the St. Regis Aspen, through Elevated Returns, T0, and Science. And they are now offering or upselling this property on their platform as well. So accredited investors can purchase the equity in the property, and Reserve actually offers hotel owners an alternative capital raising platform to be able to do this. We know that the Aspen Resort is actually trading on T0 as well. Reserve acts as another platform to be able to drive liquidity to this platform. And so, Stefan Debates, who is actually the acting CEO of Reserve, in addition to the St. Regis, has built another liquidity pool in order to drive traction towards the St. Regis. So major shout out to them. This is, I guess, a platform that's going to drive more liquidity across real estate, starting with one of the most successful secondary market issuances of tokenized real estate via the St. Regis. So this is great to see another potential portal in, and just another company that Stefan Debates is building, as he's got an entire empire of tokenization now around the world.
We see it a lot, time and time again. You got to go out and prove the technology yourself before you get somebody else to do it. So, the fact that the St. Regis is now live on that platform doesn't necessarily surprise me, but it is great to see that things are happening over there.
1,000%, guys. Looks like hospitality continues to come on to the blockchain. We've seen it in Japan. We've seen it here in the US through Aspen and others. And then we've also seen it in Mexico. And I'm sure there's other properties all over the world. So curious to see which other resort-like properties will come onto the Reserve platform. But moving on to another offering that's coming on, guys. We covered Meta Wealth last week, and we're covering them again this week with a new offering. And this is going to be another offering called the Vivace Contemporary Villas, in Valle Romano, Costa del Sol, Spain. So this is a 4 luxury villa offering. I'm going to pull up some pictures here for people to check out. And so this is a pre-construction offering. They are raising just over $1.5 million. And this is regulated specifically in Spain in compliance with their MiFID protocols established by the European Securities and Markets Authority, or ESMA. And another really cool thing about this property, or this offering, guys, is that they are doing a short-term 24-month hold and exit strategy. So essentially what they're doing is you're buying this property here, you're going to renovate it a bit, get it looking good, and then you will sell that property to another set of investors later on in 24 months. And they're projecting the ROI to be about 43%. Of course, that's assuming the market price as if it was built today. So, do your own research. I am not by any means doing any financial investment advice here. But, for anyone that's interested, especially those in Spain, make sure you check this out. Regardless, though, of what the market price for the property is later on, we do know that 5% of the 43% they're projecting is 100% guaranteed and distributed through 24 equal monthly payments. So again, something else to look into. But great job, Meta Wealth. Can't wait to see how this performs. And like last time, hopefully we get some insights as to where those investors are coming from, whether from what jurisdictions or what kinds of investor classes, stuff like that.
I like the what looks to be a little Porsche that they designed into their renderings there. Very cool to see yet again more real estate tokenization. There are so many platforms now. It looks like Meta Wealth is really on a roll here. We're going to see lots and lots of real estate this year get tokenized. Very excited for it. But real estate, treasuries, and everything else is not the only thing that's hot. We've got bonds, folks. We announced actually last month, I believe, the 4 green digital bonds, if you remember those, out of Hong Kong. Which totaled up combined around 700 million plus, guys. These were no small offerings. In fact, they say there was insane investor demand behind it. And now HSBC and the Bank of East Asia, they say they've used one of the bonds as collateral for a repo transaction. So this is a pretty big deal. I actually want to take some of the pieces out of this Ledger Insights article here. But they say, quote, the 4 digital bonds recently issued by the Hong Kong government on HSBC Orion as part of CMU's infrastructure have seen unprecedented investor demand, secondary trading, and now repo trading. And they say that, quote, digital bonds should be as liquid as conventional bonds. And HSBC is proud to have been part of the first multi-currency digital bond transaction globally in order to achieve this market. So again, I'm pretty bullish on bond markets, specifically around the world. They're officially going on chain. It's going to start catching on, I think, thanks to awesome features like this, right? This cross-border access is big in order to get investors access to these types of bonds in the first place. And specifically, of course, they're enabling these secondary market features and repo, as well as I imagine several other features they've got in the works or behind the scenes that we don't even know about. So very cool to see that this wasn't just a series of offerings, but these offerings are getting utilized in the marketplace by major players.
Yeah, this is interesting. The first multi-currency digital bond here, I think it makes total sense and really will need to be the future of these types of offerings to support every different type of currency that needs to get settled. And that's where the benefit of the blockchain lies in terms of doing atomic swapping across different Forex, having those on-chain oracles with real-time pricing. I think this is a great use case and helps drive that value of why this needs to be tokenized. So a cool offering for sure.
Absolutely. And if you guys are curious to learn a little bit more about each of those tranches or each of those currency tranches, all 4 are already on our website, stm.co. So go check them out.
Nice. And with that, guys, my last article here is a Brazilian fintech company called Rivool, RIVOOL. Finance is preparing a proof of concept, and they want to tokenize debt for rural credit in Brazil for agricultural financing. And they're targeting international investors. They'd like to raise millions of dollars in the Swiss jurisdiction with a yield estimated to be around 12% per year. Again, financing Brazilian agriculture. And so the initiative is trying to target those fixed income style of investors that are looking for those high yield projects and offering tokenized credits into the Brazilian infrastructure. There wasn't a ton of information in their article, but they are getting involved. And again, this shows the debt markets being a key opportunity here, as well as it being a global opportunity here for tokenization.
Love that. I don't think it is without this technology that this company, Rivool, if I'm saying that right, would have ever tapped into Switzerland as an example to go ahead and start raising capital for their proof of concept here. And I think agricultural-based financing is a huge need. I think probably dominated by specific lenders and banks in the region. So to be able to tap into, an international pool of capital or a separate pool of capital, I think is a really great opportunity for the investors to get that access. And of course, for the farmers and whoever is involved to be able to tap into better credit opportunities. So, this is actually a really great announcement, Kyle.
Totally agree. And it's great to see.
Well, I believe we've got one more interview coming up here, Jason, with Coreestate. So I'll let you take it away.
Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this interview. We are joined by Coreestate. Kristaps Cuders here is joining us. So, Kristaps, how are you this morning?
I'm very good. And thank you, Jason, for inviting me. Great to be here.
Absolutely. Well, great to have you. And congratulations. You did win Company of the Week from Kyle's, vote last week. So we decided, let's bring you on, learn a little bit more directly from you on what's going on with Coreestate. I know you guys are doing the first real estate token in Scandinavia. So give us a quick background on Coreestate yourself, kind of how you got into this world of tokenization, and we can dive into the property itself as well.
Absolutely. So, we came up with a team of real estate enthusiasts and investment enthusiasts and architects. And with an idea that we would like to, build affordable, sustainable housing with a high quality and focus on sustainability. And we also wanted that these houses are actually available for everyone to own. And at that time, there was a crypto boom, and we saw that, hey, it could be great that we somehow move this amount of money to buildings itself. And at that time, I learned about the term real estate or real world asset tokenization. And we saw, okay, that's actually the way we should do it. That's the right way to do it. People can come in and buy a fraction of real estate, whatever they can, and they can sell it. And it's just this liquidity and fractionalization and function in general of tokenization, what doors it opens for people to buy in. So, we came up together, architects, construction engineers, investment engineers, and built a company called Coreestate with the idea behind that properties should be owned by the consumers or investors themselves.
Makes sense.
That's the basics, how we came out together.
I like it. Well, let's dive a little deeper. I know you guys have a property already available. So, can you give us an overview on Rev 55, how you guys came across this and what people are, essentially able to invest in today through Coreestate?
Yes, of course. So we started with the first property as a renovation property. We wanted to increase the value because once you tokenize, of course, there are also little costs regarding the tokenization, and it should be added on top of the asset you are tokenizing. However, if you have solutions with the architects and construction engineers, you always are increasing the value. So for us was most important that by the job we are doing, that we are increasing more value than we are adding on the asset itself. And we came up with the solution that we will split addresses. We're going to purchase this old building, which right now is a very poor condition, and renovate it to the highest standards. And that is splitting addresses from 3 to 5, isolating the entire building. In generally, right now, it's not livable, but we're going to make it to A++ standards. And that's how we actually increase the value by more than 40%, just by doing these simple things.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting and a really cool angle that you're taking an approach on here. For everyone listening, if you go to Coreestate's website, you'll be able to see, what a video of what the property looks like today and what they're projecting it'll look like later afterwards. But this is cool that people are able to get in on this property, in the renovation stage, beforehand. So, essentially they're getting in early, right? Not that this is any investment advice to everyone, of course, but it's really a really cool property to be looking at. So who are some of the partners that you're working with to, get this tokenization off the ground and bring it to market?
Yeah, sure. So we started to work with Aditya. We bought a white label to do the tokenization process itself. Of course, we work as well with municipalities, architects, additional construction engineers, all kind of third-party providers, but I would say that one of the most important for a tokenization process is the DigiShares.
Very cool. DigiShares, we've seen them come on the show before. We've seen them. We've covered their news, and so they're great partners with us, and great to see that they're involved in yet another great property and opportunity. So good for you guys. Tell me a little bit more about the sustainable living that you were referring to a little earlier. Just tell us a little bit more details as to what your approach is and what future plans look like for you guys as well.
Sure. So one of the co-founders, she's an architect. She's a certified sustainability engineer, and meaning that every building we go through, there's real construction experts doing the evaluation of the building. Is a good building and what we can do with this building. We rather focus on increasing the physical asset value than just a virtual asset. There should be a link between these two, and that's our angle. And we will always going for the properties which are probably in the very attractive location, but because of the existing business model, it's not very attractive investment for the investors when you have to go to bank and have a huge loan, and the interest rates are not the most friendly at the moment. That's why when we fractionalize, we can get rid of this huge debt, and we can actually build in higher quality. And we also see that people are ready to pay a little extra for a high quality property, which is sustainable in a very long term and do not need this additional repairs in next 5 to 10 years. And they are actually willing to maybe sacrifice a little yield, like 1-2% get lower, but then again they can sleep well, knowing that their ownership, which is the property in this case, it's well maintained for the next 10-20 years.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, right? And again, everyone has different investment appetites, and things that are to their liking. But to your point, there are people that again are just comfortable making that real estate being a little bit more sound, or that real estate investment being more sound. And so I think you guys are really taking a really cool approach to this. Awesome. So can you just let us know, how can people, who can participate, who's able to invest? How can they learn more both about specifically the offering and about you guys? And if there's anyone looking to work with you guys, how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. Just come to our website, Coreestate.io. You will see everything about us, and there's a link to specific property, link Graph 55, when you can see more about the property. Then we are open for European Economic Zone, meaning that people who live here or have a resident permit, they can invest. Since the property is owned by a Danish public limited company, we use a special purpose vehicle as a ownership structure. We are open live, so people can come and buy a little fraction of property right now.
Great to know. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, Kristaps. We'll definitely keep up with what you're doing, any future opportunities and whatnot, but appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jason. All the best.
Absolutely. And now we'll move on to the next segment of the show.
It's that time again, Kyle. We made it to the end of the show. It's our last segment, but one of my favorites because you and I, we get to pick each a company we thought personally made the biggest moves in the space, highlighting the technology, moving the industry forward. And of course, those companies, they get a chance to enter winner for Company of the Year. So we'll, of course, be doing that at the end of 2024. Congrats to Republic for winning that last year. And congrats to Coreestate as Kyle's winner last week. Great interview, of course. But with that, Kyle, I'm dying to know, who do you have for this week?
My winner this week is Ondo Finance. They have had multiple weeks of integrating stablecoins and different blockchains into their protocol. And just this week, led by Jason's segment earlier, have been pioneering this inter-messaging system in order to solve the connection between tokenizing real-world assets and bringing them on-chain. And so they've built a whole network infrastructure in order to drive liquidity into these public markets via the crypto and blockchain economy. And I think it's a super savvy move. It's just another rollout that just shows the team has been out here crushing it with new advancements, new products. And so for all those reasons, Ondo wins my Company of the Week.
I mean, that's an absolute great choice, Kyle. What Ondo did there with their global markets is going to be make a huge impact on the industry, I think, over time. It's one of those transcending things where, they've kind of unearthed something new within the industry to try to tap into that traditional off-chain liquidity, if you will. And I think that's critical right now in order for this, RWA sector to really take off. So I think they're going to be leaders in that without a doubt. My Company of the Week, Kyle, I got to give it out to Reserve. This is, of course, Stefan Bates' new platform in collaboration with T0, with Science, Elevated Returns, and them announcing St. Regis, as I mentioned earlier, is not necessarily a surprise. But of course, you got to get things moving on the platform. Great to be your own guinea pig. And folks, the reason why I chose this company is because I believe in the model. There's a difficulty, as they said in their press releases, for hotels to get mezzanine financing. It can be not necessarily the best terms. And equity isn't necessarily the most sought after thing usually, but thanks to tokenization, you can actually tap into your customers who might want to get some of that equity. And why stop there? That's where I think this is cool. This platform enables you to, for example, as they say, with the St. Regis tokens, you can have this unique ability to redeem those shares for a room night stay at a fixed rate, as well as other experiences they plan to be coming in. I believe this is a new alignment of customer and owner. And I think hotels are a great category for proving that model out. So here's seeing to more continued success to the St. Regis Aspen, having been tokenized since 2018. That in themselves is a major accomplishment. But to see the property get added to Reserve likely means we're going to see many more soon. So with that, Reserve, you're my Company of the Week.
Stefan Bates just doesn't miss. This team has also been launching products for years, facilitating tokenization. Great to see that they're working on more, I think, inflow routes for capital to purchase into more hospitality tokenization projects. So great to see.
They definitely seem to know what they're doing over there just based on that token price. You can go again, check out at stm.co. if you need. But with that, that's our show. Remember, go grab your ticket for Tokenize this in May. We hope to see you in person in Miami. But of course, in the meantime, we've got everything you need at stm.co, all the latest news, all the latest data you need, all the latest listings, so you can go learn about the markets. And of course, we hope to catch you again next week on Mondays at 10 a.m. when we do the show. And if you're missing us in the meantime, we do have a lot of great webinars and a lot of great resources at Security Token Prime. That's our platform, our research portal for you, securitytokenprime.com. Kyle, anything you want to close on?
Hey, another great week. Shout out to Jason for producing each one of these episodes and being consistent with that. And anybody listening, really appreciate you sticking around with us for 220 plus episodes at this point. And let's cheers to 220 more.
Let's do it, Kyle. And with that, everybody, happy tokenizing.